There had been all of these red flags for her, but she didn't know to look for them, and she didn't piece them together until Kelli was already dead. She wondered why she didn't see it. But the truth is, and the reason that I do these videos, is that a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't see this stuff until later. It's crazy the things that we're aware of that we don't realize that we're aware of until something brings that out of us. What I'm trying to do by these videos is teach you that stuff ahead of time so that you know what to look for, so that when you see it, if you see it, you can identify it. You won't have to look back in hindsight, or other people who know you won't have to look back in hindsight because you're dead and they're like, why didn't I see that stuff? Joshua Ward, who was 48 at the time but is now 51, from Ohio, has been charged with 2 counts of capital murder. Deputies believe that he shot and killed Kelli Kramer, who was 31 at the time, and her son Aiden, who was 9 at the time, in their apartment in Burlington, Kentucky in March of 2018. Both died from multiple gunshot wounds to their heads and torsos. In fact, prosecutors said that Ward shot Kelli once in the back of the head, 3 times above her right ear, once in the thigh, and once above her right eyelid. Aiden was found shot once below his right eye and once in the temple, shoulder, and torso. Surveillance video from Little Caesars near Kelli's apartment showed a man who law enforcement believe was Ward pulling up in a Buick like the one that Ward possessed around 10:50 that night. It then showed that Buick leaving about 2.5 minutes later. So in 2.5 minutes, this person came in and shot 9 times between the both of them. Just came in and opened up on them and left. David Sullivan is the one who came to the apartment and ended up finding Kelli and Aiden's bodies. It was reported that no blood was found on his clothes, so he was cleared as a suspect. Ward, however, was arrested in Cincinnati a couple of days later during a traffic stop. Ward had a relationship with Kelli from December of 2016 until May of 2017. So that was only 6 months. In 6 months, she had a relationship that ended her life and her son's life. That goes to show you it doesn't have to be you're with this person for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years before they feel like they have a right to you and to your life. It can be a very short period of time. One of the things that makes this case more unique, we'll say, is that Kelli had a history of drugs, prostitution, and escorting. She was also a member of a BDSM social network called FetLife, which is where she met Ward, and David Sullivan, the man who discovered their bodies. The lawyers for both the prosecution and the defense both acknowledged that Ward had wanted sort of a big polygamous family, that he wanted to have multiple wives and girlfriends, including his current wife at the time, with whom he had an open marriage. Now, he had met a woman named Tanya Palmer through FetLife also. He actually used a cattle prod on her during sex at one point, which some people would definitely consider abusive. But they maintained a friendship after they quit being sexual partners. And she actually was extremely important in this case. Ward told police shortly after the murders that he had broke up with Kelli when he found out that she was still prostituting herself. But police said that Ward had killed her because she was responsible for, quote, destroying him. His ex-girlfriend, Nicole Boley, testified that he told her that Kelli had ruined his life and his potential to have a family by breaking up with him. She also said that he called Kelli a monster. He called me at the end of May 2018 and asked me not to tell the cops anything that he had said. His defense attorneys, of course, clarified that the reason that Ward thought that Kelli was a monster was because she was still prostituting and that she was running some long-term con on him. Tanya called Crime Stoppers 3 different times after she found out that the murders had happened and provided significant testimony to help build the prosecution's case against Ward, saying that he gunned down his ex-girlfriend and her young son because he was upset that she had broken up with him. Tanya said that she had had lunch with Ward one day before the shootings had happened, and they discussed him using her property to do firearms target practice. At the lunch, it was things like, "She'll get what's coming to her," "How dare she break up with me," What was she thinking? Thinking that she had the right to have control over her life and make decisions. How dare she? That is a very common mentality of these intimate partner homicide perpetrators. She also said that he asked if she knew where he could get a gun that was unregistered or wouldn't be able to be detected, and also if she knew where to get enough heroin to kill somebody. When Ward called Tanya to inform her that Kelli and Aiden were dead, she testified that she thought to herself, "I can't believe you effing did it," saying that all of the things that he had said in the last few months came rushing over her. There had been all of these red flags for her, but she didn't know to look for them, and she didn't piece them together until Kelli was already dead. A lot of people don't. The other day I was asked, how many fingers did the Ninja Turtles have from when I was a kid? And I closed my eyes and I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, 3. Thumb, 2 fingers. It's crazy the things that we're aware of that we don't realize that we're aware of until something brings that out of us. What I'm trying to do by these videos is teach you that stuff ahead of time so that you know what to look for, so that when you see it, if you see it, you can identify it. It's so clear when you know what to look for. Intimate partner homicides are rarely, if ever, something that happens in a moment where they get angry and they just can't control themselves. There are very clear markers ahead of time and during. I want you to find them. I wish that she could have found them. I want you to find them. Her cooperation with the police against Ward made her afraid for hers and her children's lives, so I was scared to death that if he found out what I was doing, if he could do it to her, he could do it to me, because what I was doing was way more than what she did. While detectives never found the murder weapon in this case, they did find 2,400 rounds of .22 caliber ammunition in Ward's apartment, and prosecutors say that the deadly shots were from a .22 caliber weapon. An ATF ballistics expert then testified that the shell casings that were found on Tanya's property from the target practice were consistent with the ones that were found in Kelli's apartment. And Tanya testified that she hadn't let anybody else target practice on her property. Ward was the only one. And defense lawyer Ashley Graham said that Ward was at home during the murders, working on a treasure chest and reading. Prosecutors disagreed, arguing that the surveillance video put him at Kelli's apartment the night that she was shot to death. And I also want to note, not that it's super important, but it's comical to me, how many of these guys, if they don't kill themselves and they end up going to court for this stuff, have female defense attorneys. You ever notice that? Pay attention. That is such a strategy move. Look, this woman is defending me. Clearly, I'm not the bad guy that this court is painting me out to be. I have a woman attorney, for Pete's sake. The defense tried to show that Tanya was not a credible witness because of how much communication that she had with police, which makes zero sense to me. Like, this woman is talking to the police a lot, so clearly she's not credible. Like, how do you even twist that in your brain to get it to work like that? But she said that she was in almost constant contact with the police because she was afraid for her life. Because A, she fully believed that he did this, and B, she had seen red flags in him that indicated that he was dangerous. Ward is facing, I believe, 20 years to life in prison without the possibility of parole if he's convicted. Our hearts are broken. We're never going to see them again, Kelli's dad, John Kramer, said. Her mother, Marilyn, said that Kelli was very outgoing. She was just a really nice person. Always came with a smile and was always ready to party. Kelli Kramer was born to John and Marilyn Martin Kramer in Cincinnati, Ohio. She's survived by her parents, sisters Julie and Kimberly, nephew Cody, niece Madeline, as well as a host of other family members and friends, all of whom will cherish her memory. Aiden Michael Kramer, who also passed away on Wednesday, March 21st, 2018, was a 4th grader at Burlington Elementary School and 9 years old. His grandparents, John and Marilyn Kramer, recently sold raffle tickets to raise money benefiting the St. Timothy Church and Burlington Elementary Playground. The drawing was set to happen on June 7th, which would have been Aiden's 13th birthday. There will be a permanent marker at the playground to honor Aiden. Aiden, he was a straight-A student. We're doing this because he was a special kid. He was outgoing, easy to get along with, John said. Our hearts are broken, but our faith tells us that we will see them again sometime. So that. When you break up with somebody like this, and not just like this as in him and this BDSM polygamy thing, but a person that is willing to do something like this, when you break up with them or leave them in a marriage, when you leave them and for a year after you leave them, you're in extreme danger. Kelli's situation falls squarely in that time frame. Until I see you again, please stay safe.